Hello and welcome to Daily Politics, reaching you from Trust TV here in Abuja. On this program, we discuss issues around politics, policy, and governance. I am Suleiman. Is Kaduna under siege? It must be. It had to be. In just the past week, there has been attacks on various communities and federal infrastructure in the state virtually every day. On Saturday last week, bandits attacked the Kaduna International Airport, during which one security guard was killed and 12 persons reportedly abducted. The following Monday, 28 March, bandits again attacked the Abuja-Kaduna train somewhere between Regina and Katari, two communities well known as flashpoints between Kaduna and Abuja. At least 9 persons were killed and several more kidnapped. And yesterday, social media and newspapers reported that bandits were operating along the Kaduna-Abuja highway, sparking widespread fears and prayers among the populace. But amidst all of this, during the same week, bandits attacked communities in Zaria and Giwa, killing many and abducting dozens. In fact, in recent months, there have been increasing bandit attacks around Chikung, Birningwari, Giwa, and Igabilaka government areas of Kaduna State. These frontline states also border areas in Niger and Zamfara states, as well as the Federal Capital Territory, where bandits have also been on an endless rampage, killing, maiming, raping, and abducting scores of Nigerians in the past few months alone. So tonight, we asked, is Kaduna under a terror siege? Who are the actors perpetrating these attacks? Why have there been limited response from the government and security agencies? With me in the studio to discuss this is Malam Jibrin Baba Ndache, who is Defense and Security Editor, Blueprint newspaper here in Abuja. You're welcome.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
You're welcome. Also joining us on Skype is Dr. Tanko Ahmad, who is a retired senior fellow, Security and Strategic Studies, National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, Kuru, that's in Jos. He's also a fellow of the National War College and now Defense College, and a consultant on security issues who also teaches at Bayes University, Abuja. Welcome to Daily Politics.
Thank you very much. I'm pleased.
So we'll take just a brief moment, and when we return, we'll jump right into it and bring you all the analysis of why Kaduna has become not the Kaduna we have always known. Stay with us.
This is Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back. This is Daily Politics on Trust TV, and we're discussing around issues of security in Kaduna, but of course and environs. Kaduna State is centrally located in northern Nigeria, and it borders virtually most of the leading states in the country: Niger, Zamfara, FCT, and others beside. All of these places have been involved in various kinds of attacks on citizens and on their property for many, many months now. And citizens are asking, what have we done to deserve this? Must this continue? And will this continue? And with me are two guests to pour over all of these issues. Malam Jibrin, let me start with you. You know, you've covered these issues for a long time, and you're now editor for your newspaper on these issues. One trend that has, come out clearly in all of this is that before it used to be Zamfara, now it appears like Kaduna is becoming the center of this banditry issue. In the past 1 week alone, tens of people have been killed, tens more abducted in Kaduna of all places in northern Nigeria. What's happening?
Well, let me from your background, the picture you painted is sadly the expected picture of what we are going through, particularly in northern Nigeria. But again, one of the most important states and empire cities in Nigeria, Kaduna. But if you look at global trend of terrorism and insurgency, many experts will tell you that this is not surprising. You look at the stand of the governor of the state, Governor Madan Nasir Rufai. I mean, I don't work for him, but this is very clear. Being somebody of cover, you can see how proactive he has been. He's been a boot on the ground, if you like. You know, and his stand is at variance with what insurgents and all manner of criminals will like. So, and that is one. Two, Kaduna is also a place that, you know, when criminals attack it, the impact on it will be more than almost any other state in the north, maybe Kano and all of that. You have many critical national infrastructure, you know, many military facility, many institutions and all of that. And then the place of Kaduna itself in the scheme of things in Nigeria. Everybody who is who in northern Nigeria have one thing or the other is linked directly to Kaduna, including the president and commander-in-chief, and all former generals and serving and retired, all top civil servants, all politicians, all of them, everybody is indirectly or directly linked to Kaduna. So that is another aspect. But thirdly, I think that there's a book by one U.S. congressman. The title of the book, he wrote the book after 9/11, The Failure of Imagination. His argument is that Americans should not pretend that there won't be another 9/11. The security architecture of a country must think of the worst in modern time so that you can anticipate and react to. So let's take, for instance, the train. Let's start from the train, which the collateral damage is more in terms of perception, in terms of loss of human and material. I mean, I have asked this question, and Suleiman, I'll put that to you. If the train were to be in China, considering the importance of Kaduna and Abuja, will the Chinese government allow it to train blind? Because the train is running blind, what Hausa would say, you know, a blind makahon jirigi, if you like. Yeah. Because if the train leaves the station in Abuja, he can't even see what is happening in Kuba station. In modern era. And I use the example of Nigerian Navy, for instance, with their Falcon Eye. From the naval headquarters, they see what happened. They see what happened within the Nigerian nautical mile, the sea, the Gulf of the Gate, and if there's anything, they are able to respond with their boots on the ground. Now you are running a train in modern time. This train, there is no facility in this train that can dictate any attempt either on the track or even from anywhere, and there's no monitoring mechanism even from the station. And you see, sometimes, Suleiman, and let me get to another point. At every point when this happens, you hear in the National Assembly, people talk, but are there no oversight function? Exactly. So I don't want us, when situations happen, Suleiman, let us sit back the way we're doing now, and let us provide solutions rather than grandstanding. Yeah. Because it's our country. You have a rail line that is running with no technology on it. Security infrastructure should be part of this train from day one. From day one. And if there is not, the National Assembly, through their oversight function, either the Senate or the House of Rep should have noted, okay, this train, even though it is not there, we will not allow it to run without this. And then you put all these things in place. Now, you've raised quite a few interesting issues. First of all, the idea of grandstanding or blame trading by various parts, units of the government, but also the idea of surveillance as part of our security, not just on the train, but in the country as a whole, given the situation that we're in. But I will speak with Dr. Tanko. Dr. Tanko, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly.
You could hear Malan Jibrin as well, the issues he's raising.
Very, very clearly. Yes, although I'm on Skype.
Thank you. So just before we get to issues of surveillance and what he calls grandstanding or blame trading among the public officials after a tragedy, after Nigerians have to bury their dead and all that, let's look at Kaduna's centrality once a bit. On Monday, before Monday, this thing happened at the airport. The bandits attacked the airport. And then on Monday again, they attacked the train going to Kaduna. And then between then and now, they have attacked communities in Zaria, communities in Giwa, and so on. What this shows is a sort of daringness, that yes, we can do this and nothing is going to happen. Is that element part of this discussion?
Okay. In addition to the details my colleague here has given, I would like to have to make a scenario approach. This is a very, very complex situation. People are claiming that government is not ready, security agencies are not doing their duties or something like that. If you go to records, you go to how people do their activities, all this kind of thing is not correct. So I would like to have a script scenario of the whole thing. This scenario, I will break it into physical, human, and institutional scenarios.
Okay.
What is happening in Nigeria now is that there is disconnect between the government services, and the people that they are supposed to serve for a very, very long time. I'm not here now to give you a date and other thing to blame one regime over the other, but generally, government is not able to touch the ground. I will give you an example. Physically, there is nobody that can tell you exactly who are staying in the gap along the roads. You can drive to Abuja now by road, or you go by air. You can take maybe the road from Kefi to Jos, and you come back to Mararaban Jos. What is in between that area? Nobody knows. I can tell you that as we are talking now, there is no single person that will tell you how many communities we have in Nigeria. In addition to that, how many people do we have? We always guess. Guess what? So if you don't know the physical environment, any problem that physical environment is going to come out with, that one will take you by surprise. Second one is the human terrain. I just spoke about how many people we have. We don't know how majority of Nigerians are managed. We don't know how they survive. People will just tell you that there are about 3 million. Not true. Nobody has gone in there to look for it. We don't even know how many languages we have. So this is also ignorance. But also, the institutions that we think we plan them on paper, we install them, we provide budgets, we assign people to manage them. These institutions, they cannot perform. People are saying that institutional...
Dr. Tanko, that's exactly what Nigerians are asking. Why can't institutions that draw budget from government fund and from government posts every year, why can they not perform? They have been trained to do so. They have been provided with budgets on an annual basis to do so. Why can they not perform? For goodness sake, we have a national security advisor in this country. We have many different security agencies. The question is, why can they perform?
They can't perform because no single person can perform without the other person performing. Let me go back to the issue of security architecture. Security architecture here means a one complete structure that is connected to everything. There is nothing like that. Because if you go, somebody in Abuja cannot decide what happens in Hadeja and Jigawa because you have not been there. And you are not in communication with people. So what we are facing now, we are in some kind of a security ecosystem without really recognizing that it is an ecosystem. Ecosystem is an environmental thing where they will tell you that a whole area, everything is connected to everything. The insects, the birds, the trees, the people, the river, the ground, everything is connected to everything. That is what is happening in Nigeria now, but we are approaching things with complete ignorance. And anybody that would tell you that there is no report or ways or means to solve this kind of problem, that person is not being fair to the professionals that are
Thank you. Thank you. Just give me a moment. I'll come back to you right now. Because Dr. Tanko has raised another important issue. Coordination of intelligence and security activities, among various agencies, in the government, and more importantly, the coordination of government response to these issues. Is there a failure of coordination, given in mind that, following the attack, this Daily Trust newspaper reported that, there was intelligence as early as in February, but no one did anything to it. And earlier, the governor of Kaduna State was also saying that they had written to the Nigerian Railway that they received intelligence that the train might be under attack, and nobody acted on it.
It all boils down to the point I made earlier. Failure of imagination. I mean, it will be foolhardy to anybody to think that the rail line will not be a soft target. It just speaks to the issue that I've raised. That U.S. expert, one of them, Michael McCain, wrote in his book, The Failure of Imagination, that what happened in 9/11 was as a result of the lack of recognition that this was, you must, within the security circle, especially in this age of terrorism and insurgency, there must be worst case scenario building. Yes. And I always use the example of the aircraft. The pilot doesn't want to die, or the air hostess when they remind you of what you needed to do when there's a plane crash. It's not that they are telling you that you are going to die, they want to live, but they are reminding you to be proactive. They are telling you to be mindful of what is likely, you may be helpless. That is the kind of attitude. And not just government, citizens.
Why don't we have that attitude?
I'm coming to that. And let me also say this. I know Dr. Tanko also, all over the world, this idea of rivalry, of lack of synergy, even in developed countries, these things happen. Okay. Among services, it happens. There are books on the Iraqi war between generals, when they are war, it's called generals at war. So this is not new. And what we needed to do is that as a nation, we must understand that it is not just the military or other security agencies that can solve our problem in terms of this kind of insecurity, because it's not a conventional warfare. Now you're talking of railway. If the right steps were taken, for instance, this actionable intelligence given by Kaduna State government, what is the chain of command? Where did the information get to? Is it to the minister? When he got to the MD, did the MD tell the minister what value was attached to such information? Was the governor of Kaduna right to give the information to Nigerian Railway? Is that the right channel that he should give it to?
Rather than to
So these are all the scenario that we must build. And what is important, what are the learned lessons? Number one, before we move forward. One, there's no excuse. Like the Minister of Transport saying that in the last 6 months, because there was an attempt. Between that period when there was an attempt and the President and Commander-in-Chief are giving approval, there shouldn't be excuse for any cash backing or whatever for that kind of this thing. And going forward, the National Assembly, rather than, reactive grandstanding after every attack, should be proactive also in their own approach. For instance, the oversight function of Nigerian Railway, not just Lagos, not just Kaduna, Abuja, Kaduna, Lagos, routes. Ibadan, Itakpe, and all new railway stations that are built, modern railway. What part of it, 10% of the budget should be allocated to security, of how to buy surveillance, of how to buy monitoring equipment that from the railway station, from Kaduna, once the train leaves, You are monitoring from a situation room. Once it also leave here from Abuja, the same thing. And then within all these stations, what is happening there? Just like Dr. Tanko said, how involved are even community around the railway station? When they see this railway, they think big men. They have entered from Kaduna, Suna, which they are just passing us to this thing. How are they involved? Even the railway station. Are they giving employment? Are they been carrying along to even say, okay, if I see any strange person around this rail line, who are they even going to report to? And when they report, are they protected? Because we have reliable reports, that could be some people, good citizens in Regina, all these communities, reported certain security issues in the past, and they were targeted by criminals. The day they reported, the next day, they came to their houses and said, you are the one who reported us to so and so. If somebody sees something like that, what will happen next time? We must understand, Emmanuel Sule, that we are facing a very difficult challenge. And that is why countries don't want homegrown insurgency. War among the people is very difficult. And for us to win it, we must all come together. This blame game will not take us anywhere. And it cannot be solved by kinetic approach, not bullets and guns alone.
Very interesting. We'll have to come back to going beyond the kinetic approach. But Dr. Tanko, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm with you.
But one of the issues people are raising is that whereas the government has tried to, engage these bandits in their locations, mainly through air strikes and all that, why has there not been boots on the ground, the boots of soldiers on the ground to engage with them? Because earlier on, even the governor of Kaduna State was saying, in Hausa, Hausa service program, that everyone knows where they are. Everyone knows where these bandits are located. Why are there no boots on the ground to engage them?
Okay, I'm happy you asked this question because on the second round of discussion you had with my colleagues, you started with issue of proactiveness. And I explained to you before that government has been disconnected to people, particularly in service delivery. This thing has worsened up to the extent that you can comfortably define society here as being impotent. A society that is impotent, you see a government that cannot serve the people, no matter how much it tries. And the people also, they cannot connect. There is some disintegration, and this has grown in a very, very long period of time. People don't feel even part of the institutions where they serve. So at the end of the day now, when we call institutions here, we are not just referring to security institutions. We are not referring to the military alone. We are referring to all the ministries, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Social Development, all of them, all this gamut, you put it in one place. Everybody has to do their own job, but people are not doing it. So at the end of the day, the usual thing is for people to sit down at home or come to TV screens and blame leaders that are staying in cities.
How does that prevent military boots on the ground in these areas where the bandits are located?
How do you put a boot on the ground in areas where you don't know? How do you put boots on the ground while somebody that is not professional, just because you win election, you tell the military what to do? A military officer is somebody has been trained for many, many years. You cannot sit down in Abuja because you win election, or in a state house because you win election. You tell police how to do their job. You tell the military how to do their job. You see, in some cases, there are incidences, not only the military. When you see the custom doing its job, people will drop on it. They will say oversight. There are people, you have no business to interfere with professional services. Let me tell you an ideal situation where professionally the soldiers, the police, the secret service, and other things can work perfectly. We need to have an ideal situation where a DPO today can arrest and lock up a senator in a wrong traffic accident and take him to court tomorrow morning. Yes, we need something like that. Do the police have this, they call it power? Of course, they have the responsibility. But could a DPO now arrest a senator that knocks down a little girl in front of his office and take him to court tomorrow? No. And beyond that, the DPO does not even have things to work with. And all these monies that they are clamoring, they are saying that they have spent money. You cannot just buy gadgets and mount them on rail lines, and those gadgets cannot guard people. You allow the military, you allow the police to go in and meddle with people, train them, even how to give information. They can even train them how to do combat. What is happening in Maiduguri, you couldn't have gone down to the real terrorists if you don't have the civilian JTF.
Thank you.
And all these things we are talking about, you go to places like NIPS, NDC, NISS, everywhere, all these institutions, I'm telling you, there are solutions to all this kind of problem. But then when you go out there, how do you put this
I think that raises,
how do you put the boots to the ground when somebody will interfere?
Yes, I think that raises another important dimension to this question, which I put back to you, because Senator Shehu Sani, who is from Kaduna State, as you know, and also in a way involved in security issues and on, he proposed that young people in the communities around these railways lines, particularly in region Katari and other areas, but not just in these places, but other areas in Zaria, in Giwa, in Briningwari, and so on, as well as in Tegina, you know, and Shiruru and others, can be recruited and trained, and you know, by given training to become part of the security, overall security architecture.
Honestly, this speaks to, of course, I raised that issue partly. And I mean, that is why, again, I talk about when we have challenges like that, we need to sit back and look at our roles as stakeholders, not throwing blame on anybody. We are playing our role now as media men, bringing issues to bear on this issue, providing solutions, you know, and all of that. And that is very important. Every criminality happens in a unit. It happens in a ward. It happens in a local government. It happens in a state constituency. It happens in a federal constituency. It happens in a central. It happens in a state. It happens in a country. Some of these issues that we're grappling are even local grievances that stakeholder politicians, other stakeholders are unable to solve before it snowballs into national issue. And then somebody will come to National Assembly, and then you throw all the blame on other stakeholders, particularly the military and other security agencies. Let us change our style.
Okay.
This proposal is the best. And that is why, to solve this insurgency, Marlon Sule, is through all government approach and all people's approach. Because the criminal is among the people. Is one person, he answers one name in the afternoon, he answers another name in the evening. He does one job in the afternoon, he does another job in the evening. He has no uniform, he has no tribal identity like me to say, anybody who have this tribal man, if you see he is so and so. He doesn't represent any religion, he doesn't represent any tribe. So we have to change our strategy. This community involvement, and that is why when we talk about policing, I said let's go the way of community policing, not state policing. Community policing means involving the people at the ground floor, taking the way of vigilante and community involvement in what is happening. I just said it earlier. You have built a rail line. You are building a rail line. You are not taking cognizance of what environment. You say you just want the rail to run the way it's running in China or in UK. Are we in UK, man, Suleiman? Are we not building it for Nigeria? Every railway station In the past, it's a corridor of business. I am from a railway community on Lagos, on Lagos Kano Railway. Every railway station, and then you build a train that will just pass villages. Okay, if something has happened to that railway, how do people connect with it? The Abuja-Kaduna Railway, what is the connection, just like Dr. Kanto said, of the ordinary people in those villages to this rail line? What are they benefiting? What they see is that a train is carrying big men and big women from Abuja. They are going to Kaduna, from Kaduna to Abuja. When we build system, we must not do cut and paste with countries that are ahead of us. We must look at our own peculiarities as a nation, so that the issue that doctor have raised about disconnection between the people, there are too many ungoverned spaces in this country. It is not possible. When criminals do their criminality, they do what they call Reiki. It is not possible for this kind of attack to happen without people seeing unusual movement. But they will not talk. If they talk, one, they are afraid when they report to security agencies, it will leak and then they will be attacked. That is one. Two, they don't feel any connection to it. Whatever happens, let it happen. The train, I don't benefit from it. There's nobody that is working from my family in the railway station. The train, I don't enter. So what is my business? We must build a society that is people-centered. When you have good governance, when you have people have a sense of belonging beyond elections, when people can feel their own country, that is when we can solve this problem. It's not through blaming or telling the belief. I asked this question, you talk about boot on the ground. What is the number of our own armed forces entirely in this operation? And when they move, they have uniform. These criminals don't have uniform. I hear some people suggesting of air surveillance of Kaduna, Abuja, Kaduna Railway and back. How many aircraft do we have?
I think let's just take a short break. We'll be taking a short break, as the discussion is getting hot, but also more informative and more interesting. When we return, we'll be looking at the roles that the President of Nigeria, as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, and of course, the National Security Advisor can play in all of this. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is Daily Politics on Trust TV, and we're discussing issues of insecurity, not only in Kaduna State, but around bordering states like Niger, Zamfara, and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Thank you for staying with us. So, okay, let me go back to Dr. Tanko. Dr. Tanko, I'm going to ask, because people are saying that each time something like this happens, the president of Nigeria or the presidency, whichever way people would like to have it, will just issue directives. Hey, security chiefs, go and do this. Hey, service chiefs, go and do that. But the president himself, as the commander-in-chief, doesn't seem to be involved in trying to wipe away the tears of Nigerians who have to, suffer these incidences day in, day out.
Okay, this kind of approach, I always hear it on TV, I hear it on the way people discuss. For Nigerians to be satisfied that Buhari is attending to them, then Buhari will have to multiply himself into 200 million Buharis, which is not possible. There are many structures that branch out from.
So are you back on? Okay, go ahead. So that you know.
National structure. This national structure is broken into state structure. States are broken into local government. Local governments are broken into districts. Districts are broken into communities. Communities are broken into wards, family grouping, individuals. So now if we are talking about issue of security, let's separate what is security and what is protection. I would like to start with protection. Protection, you and me now. I traveled from Abuja to Jos today. Number one thing I did, I have to calculate the.
We're having issues with technology. Once he can come on, we'll have him back. Or is he back already? Okay, so go ahead.
Protection starts with the. When you start with protection, then you can now fit yourself into the security apparatus and the way they apply to you, where you live and where you stay. In my house here, I'm staying in Bukuru. We organize our own local boys to stop house breaking. We are working with the DPO. The police has community policing. Everybody has this thing. A soldier, when you are talking about military, the military, soldiers do not have to come to this Bukuru to stop riots in the distance past. You just put a roadblock of soldiers here, it's enough. So you don't have to have boots on the ground to attend to everybody. No. And also there is one thing with the minds of people. If you are able to connect with them, their minds, you can now sort out those that are criminals and ones they are not criminals. Government is not in control of the minds of the people. For example, now the biggest
Dr. Tanko,
yes.
in fairness to many Nigerians, some people raise
Yes.
the issue that yes, it is they can go the way of what you are saying now. But
Yes.
if there is that the government, when it was IPOP, for example, Nnamdi
Yeah.
Kanu, the government had the resources to go and get him arrested all the way in Kenya. But bandits
Yes.
just somewhere within Nigeria,
Well,
government
have
has been able
doing
to engage
arrests.
those
We have
ones,
been,
you know.
we have, well, anyway,
How does the two square off?
Yeah, number one, let me explain to you. I'm not a government spokesman. In fact, I'm not a government person. I am an independent person. But government has been doing a lot. We hear about number of these criminals killed every day. Did we hear about this system of national structure? Did we hear about district heads organizing their youths there to push out who they think they are criminals and deal with them? And besides, we spend most of our time in the mosque and churches in this country. That is where our minds are made. And we cannot think or behave more than our own minds. For example, let me give you an example. All these criminals that are moving around killing people, they will tell you in the mosque or church that you must forgive. Who are you to forgive somebody that hurts you? And they will tell you that you can't even take the law into your own hands. Who tell you that protecting yourself is taking law into your own hands? You see, there is a lot of confusion. It is this thing now that you have various agencies, various ministries, various people that are in charge of it. They are the ones to be coordinated. Coordinating all these things in a working situation is what is called governance. And once you have detachment, it's broken. It's like electricity. You cannot deliver electricity to this bulb if the wire is disconnected. The people have their own blame as much as
moment,
government.
Doctor. Just
Yes.
a moment. Thank
Yeah.
you. Marlins, but let me bring you into discussion now. Because it's not just the president that commander-in-chief and commander-in-chief that people, but also the office of the National Security Advisor. People are saying, what has been the role of that office in the past 5 or 3 years or so that this banditry issue has been worsening? You know, that the attacks have been occurring throughout the country. What has been, even if people say, okay, bring in the community, bring in the citizens of respective communities into this, shouldn't be part of the activities that the National Security Advisor's Office should be coordinating or be leading in coordinating?
Yeah, let me start from the president and commander-in-chief that you did talk about, because that is very important. What I tell people is that if you look at each leader at all levels, they have their own style. And I think that being somebody who have covered issues of security even before 2015, you know, I don't seem to doubt the political will of the president and commander-in-chief. I mean, very clear. Anytime there's any issue, I mean, there must be immediate response without any doubt, without looking at what we had in the past, where when things happen, there will be doubt that whether it was true or not in this country.
Which president are you referring to? For
No, I
example,
don't.
Obasanjo
No. Let me tell you.
Okay.
Let me tell you. Once upon a time in this country,
Yes.
when there was the kidnap of Chiboge, what happened? We lost 2 weeks of creating doubt about whether that happened at all. It happened in this country. So what I'm saying, the right of political will of the president is not in doubt, you know. And to a large extent, when you look at it, even in terms of listening, service chief will have been said. Some of us, we did say at that point that yes, it is okay to change service chief, but for us to win this war, we must all come together as a nation. At that same time too, I also advise in my write-up, in my comment on radio and TV to a National Assembly, and this idea is like when you talk about strike, a lot of people advise ASU and other stakeholders, even this other body, Labour, to change their strategy about strike. This idea, when there is one attack, the National Assembly will come up as if that is the end of the war that day. That should be a change.
Not just the National Assembly, Nigerians are also concerned.
Even Nigeria, we are concerned. This thing that happened is very unfortunate. And like I said, what has happened is a success for this kind of the terrorists. And another point I'll quickly make, anytime there is an attack, we should not generalize. There should be isolation of this attack. For instance, this train attack is different from the Giwa attack if you look at the style and strategy. Okay. That is also different from the criminality on the road. If you look at this style of attack, they have taken more than 48 hours. They have not made any cash request. That is one. Two, they were also in a hurry to waste life, similar to other terrorist groups like ISWAP and Boko Haram. That is another trend. Just like when there was this kidnap in the university.
So this may not be bandits.
No, it may not be bandits. We need to isolate this idea that once I say no, security forces or even government must isolate this attack. Look at the collateral damage. It fits the kind of narrative that terrorist group, established terrorist group want, like ISWAP and Boko Haram, to weaken the sovereignty of states. They have achieved that in doing that. Two, to instill fear in the minds of the people. They have also achieved that. Three, to also show their invisibility and to rise their profile on the global stage. They have also been able to achieve that. You go to, we are talking about it now. You go to local international media, they are talking about it. So to solve this problem, we don't need to go into their own narrative. We sit back, stakeholders, what do we need to do differently? What are the learned lessons quickly that we must learn so that we foretell this thing that is happening rather than doing the blame game? One, members of the National Assembly, there has to be a change of strategy in even their oversight function. Okay. I use the example of the Nigerian Railway. If the minister is the one, Minister of Transport is the one as an executive talking with the Chinese government on the building of railway, when you come to the oversight function, you ask, What are those facilities that if it were in China, this is what should be there? Nigeria is not a banana republic. If we are not viable, China will not give us this loan, and we are paying back. Yes. So Nigeria should not be a country as if we are being done a favor by taking this loan. That is one. Two, we must, as a nation, work together. Whole government approach. Dr. Tanko make a very important point. It's not the issue of the security forces. It is not the issue of one ministry. MDA, ministry, department, and agency, and all security force. No security force can do it alone. They must come together. And when you have intelligent report, how do you give it? Who are you giving it to? Who are those analyzing those security, the intelligent report? And above all, we must have the mindset of thinking of the worst case scenario. What you think, let there be scenario building around all our critical infrastructure. If terrorist group attempt to attack this, what are we going to do? What should be the role of this? What should be the role of this? These are the things that we should do as a nation. And then the National Assembly, you should go back to your constituency. He talked about winning the heart and mind of the people. It is not the role of...
I was going to...
Yes, let me just make this point. Please. You know, it is not just the role of the security forces to do this. And they are doing a lot of this, winning the heart and mind. He made an important point. I was an embedded defense correspondent. So we were going into very difficult area, sleeping in the trenches with civilian JTF. Many of them are paid supreme price. There was one prominent vigilante group in Biu area that was killed, I think last month. I knew him in 2015 when I was embedded with the military in those areas. He paid the supreme price. Now, we need to change how we do. And then above all, there are too many ungoverned spaces in Nigeria, Mayosule. Now, the areas of this forest, there were plans by our forefathers, the founding father, on what to do with it. Grazing reserves. What happened to it? Why are those forests game reserve? What happened to those forests? Where are those facilities? In Nigeria, there's what you call city, one of these government functionaries call city capture syndrome. But even in terms of infrastructure, our infrastructure is only concentrated on city. When you go to state capital, after you lose some state capital in some state, there's no road leading one local government to the other. These forests you are talking about, they can move within 5 states in the forest.
Well, I think that's probably the question. Dr. Tanko, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm still with you.
Thank you. Because that's the question I was going to ask. This idea of ungoverned spaces, which connects to the issue you raised earlier about the disconnect between government and the citizenry. Because if you have ungoverned spaces, people live in those spaces, you know, and they are not governed, they have no connection
of even the people that
what is
government
the way
is going
out
to serve
about them, and to what extent can that help to reduce some of these issues?
Yeah, we have to acknowledge the seriousness of this ungoverned space. Ungoverned space here is not just the physical space. Of course, that one is obvious. Another ungoverned space is the mind of the people. There is gap between leadership and followership. Now, there are also agencies that are supposed to take this kind of gap. What are the government media houses doing? What is the National Orientation Agency doing? What are all these agencies under the Ministry of Culture? What are traditional rulers doing? All these things, we are just out there to cut and paste modernization. You can say all this development we are doing, all the railway station we are building, the Abuja capital city, the big roads we are building between Lagos and Kano or something. In the actual sense, all these projects are in effect displacing people. Because at the end of the day, when you drive from Lagos to Kano, who do you want to go and see? Do you think of the villages and the settlements that are along the road that were built? You can tell me that they are giving money as compensation. What will happen to a whole family now if they displace them away from their farm and give them money? That money would not last 3 months. So where would they go? And all these things, because at the end of the day, the followers who vote for these people to go and serve them, they are disconnected from them. I come from an area where we are lucky to some extent now. Even when they are going to do budget, they will ask communities to submit to the government house what they need. Then they spread and do the budget. That is what is happening in Jigawa State. I come from Hadeja. It is so good that even the Hadeja people, just some few months ago, they called the governor to thank him because all the things that we have requested, 33 pieces of requests, he has delivered 31. So you see, let everybody be doing something like that. Be doing it because of the kids that are roaming around the street. Be doing it because you are not involved in one thing or the other. When you start doing this, you connect and we are functional. That is where you will talk about the president and the office of the NSA. People don't even go to bed. They sleep there overnight. They have eyes like my own here. All their eyes are baggy eyes. Because they don't sleep.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tanko. I think this is where we come to the end of today's program. Thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Tanko Ahmed, security analyst and fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Public Policy and Strategic Research. Also,
no, I'm a fellow of the National War College.
Oh, okay, fellow of senior fellow of the NIPS, Kuru in Jos.
In NIPS, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Having you on the show. And I'm sure Nigerians will appreciate all your views and insights on this matter. Thank you also, Marlon Jibrin and Baban Dachi for coming on the show.
It's really my
Security and Defense Editor for Blueprints.
Thank you
we
so
hope
much.
that we hear that your story about being embedded in this conflict some other time. Thank you also for staying with us, our viewers. It's been an interesting journey as we try to understand what is really going on in Kaduna. Why has Kaduna turned out to be the hub of terrorist attacks in recent weeks? Hopefully, we'll be soon over all of this. Tomorrow, we'll be here again for you for another edition of Daily Politics on Trust TV. I am Suleiman. Bye-bye.